Do you think race is a factor in this fight?
Yeah, I mean, race is obviously a factor. Race is a factor in all aspects of our lives. It's whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. And it's a factor particularly apparent in boxing because they always traffic in that. And in this particular case, I think that Floyd has made a lot of money by playing up or playing into the historic black trope of like the black brute. And he's played that up, and people hate that and they get angry and they want to see him put in his place. And it hasn't happened yet. And people buy fights because they want to see the black brute put in his place. And that's Floyd's playing into that. And there's no one more perfect to combat that in this day and age than Conor McGregor, who a lot of poor white citizens in America have been angry for many years for what they feel to be as the society is turning against them. And Conor has embodied that, and he's become that, and he's an awful lot like our president in that he is moving from one arena that he's been very successful into an arena that he has not had very much success, and he's talking very brash and offending people and hoping to have success. And I think I could argue that the same type of people are galvanizing around Conor and wrapping all their hopes and dreams up in Conor in the same way that we saw that take place during our previous election. So I say all that to say, and I know that's a lot, but race is definitely a factor, whether Conor is a racist or not. Like, I don't care. I'm not looking to call people racist or dig into anybody's psyche. I think it's irrelevant, truthfully, but I do think that it's ridiculous to say that it's immaterial in this fight because, as I said, race is a factor in every aspect of our lives.
Yeah, Dominic, I have to agree with you on this one. I agree because when you look at these two fighters, when they stand up next to each other, you see that one is black and one is white. And in today's culture, you can't hide that. And then maybe I'm making a bad comparison here, but you think of maybe one of the greatest movies of all time that I thought about was the movie Rocky, especially Rocky 1 and Rocky 2. It was the black fighter who was the champion, and it was this white guy, from the South Philly and trying to fight, but it was the story. It was a story of where he came from, and it was black and white, and he overcame, and he fought, he won. But I think this fight not only represents that, but it also represents, I think, the maybe, that Conor McGregor can shut up a Floyd Mayweather, can beat a guy who, in his culture, and I'm talking about Floyd Mayweather here, has been very arrogant, has been very, look at me, this is who I am. And so, yeah, this is a lot of race that is involved in this fight. And for Conor McGregor, for whatever he said, I don't think that he's racist, but obviously these two guys are going to play into the tensions that this fight is now bringing. So race will be a factor in this fight, and as it gets closer, we may see more and more of these tensions start to flare up.
Listen, absolutely is, there's, racial undertone here, and the reason why is because no one believes that this fight is really going to amount to anything. That's why when you're out here promoting the fight, you got to take all angles to try to get people to buy in and pay the $100 pay-per-view, and it's just all a part of the act. I look at this whole thing, it's like WWE. You got to do whatever it takes in order to put on the show, get both sides of the fan base to buy in, so both of these guys can cash in. Listen, it's a genius by Floyd and McGregor because they're using all different tactics, racial, like I said, racial undertone, anything in their pocket.
The American versus non-American.
Exactly. Anything in their toolbox to distract people from the fact that this is one of the biggest mismatches out there as far as fights are concerned. You're talking about an MMA guy going against one of the greatest boxers that we have ever seen. So, again, for me, this is just a tool that they're using to get people to buy into this fight.
Jen, the point that you just made kind of brought something to mind for me, and like the American versus non-American thing is normally something that's so obvious and prevalent in the fight game, but it's something that I think is taking a back seat because I don't know that necessarily many Americans, or at least half of America, maybe more, are rooting for the American in this case. And Floyd wore a red, white, and blue hoodie to the first thing, and I didn't even think about it. So I think that's an interesting question, and I think Floyd's background may have something to do with that. And I also want to throw in there, while we're talking about race, we don't want to overlook the fact that Floyd said offensive things about the LGBTQ community. So they are equal opportunity offenders in order to make that money. So I don't know. I'm really intrigued by the idea that Floyd is representing America in this because I would imagine that probably more than half of America do not like their representative.
Well, I think also, too, there's a checklist to this fight. It's a checklist in which we need to check these boxes of who we need to appeal to.
Sure.
We need to appeal to the boxing fan or the MMA fan. We need to appeal to white America, black America. We need to appeal to the younger generation. We need to appeal to our Americans, our non-Americans. We need to appeal to the average fan, somebody who may never watch. How do we check that box for everyone to say, man, you know what? I may want to watch that fight. I want to know who, you know what? If on Saturday night, I may pay my $100 just to see what happens, to be a part of the spectacle. I mean, I agree with Damien. We know what this is all about. But
who do you want to win?
Attention?
I think is an important question. So, like, I remember, it reminds me to some degree of the OJ trial, and that it was very telling by what you wanted the result to be. So, I think the question is, who do you want to win, and what does that say about you? And that's what I've been intrigued by in having these conversations with people.
Also, too, it's reality TV. So we're watching it play out. We're seeing the press tours and the conference, and you already know what's going to happen. They're going to have, both boxing camps leading up to the fight. And then we want to see, how does it finish? How does it play out? How does it end? How does Floyd come to the ring? How does Conor come to the ring? Who's going to say something outlandish? And I think that's why we are so captivated by it, because both these guys really just don't care what you have to say or what you think. And I think that's why we're so like, what are they going to say next? What's Floyd going to say next? Or what's Conor going to do? That's what we got leading up to this August 26th fight.
I just find this whole thing funny because at the end of the day, this is all about money.
Yeah.
It's all about like you talked about checking the boxes.
Right.
Okay, how many ways can we get these boxes checked so at the end of the day, everyone is making money out of this whole thing?
You are 100% correct. Non-discriminatory when it comes to people who can spend
That's
money,
right,
all right?
that's
We don't
right.
care where you stand on the spectrum as long as you got the coin to pay for the fight.